Bounce rate is not a ranking factor.
No, they don't care about your bounce rate at all. So what does Google consider your bounce rate?
Google doesn't consider your bounce rate.
They don't at all?
No.
I didn't know that.
No. A lot of people spread the rumor. Google's explicitly said they don't.
Because I thought the bounce rate is basically if people go to your site and then they leave immediately, and typically it's going to go through search. They're going to search for something. They go on your site and then they immediately go away. Isn't that going to affect your rankings?
Well, so we've talked about bounce rate in the past, and this is a different topic, but it's really valuable. So what does bounce rate mean from a technical perspective? Someone visited a page, didn't take any action, and left. If someone does a search, what is the best material for a waterproof tarp?
Right.
And they lay on a blog post that goes through different materials for tarps and the benefits of each. And, and they go, wow, I've answered my question. They see a phone number at the top of the page and they call it. And then they bounce out. Is that a bad thing? No, it's a great thing.
That's great for that particular case.
Right. So, but that's a bounce.
True.
And so Google doesn't know the difference between that bounce and any other bounce, right? So if Google were to use bounce rate as a ranking factor, blog posts would never rank because the bounce rate on blog posts is always high. And you can look in any blog and any analytics data and you'll see that. But in reality, the nature of a blog is, hey, here's a question, answer to what you have, and people bounce, but it could be the best, most well-written blog post on the topic. So that's one of the issues. Second of all is bounce rate is hard to, pardon me, I should say, in Universal Analytics, bounce rate is a pretty useless metric because it's just based on page views. But with Google Analytics, GA4, in fact, they weren't even going to put a bounce rate in GA4 until everybody got on all mess for it. Google Analytics 4 had engagement rate, which is kind of the opposite of bounce rate, right? Because Google Analytics 4 is tracking events. So Google Analytics 4 says someone visited a page and then scrolled. That's an event. The scroll is an event, right? You click on the page, you click on a phone number, you click on, even if it's a hold down to scroll up the button, or you know how we subconsciously click on pages as we read down the page, right? Those are all clicks and those are all engagements. So GA4 measures engagement rate, which is a much better way of seeing how people interact and value. So for instance, a blog post, you can see the engagement rate as you scroll down and read the entire blog post and say, oh, people really engaged with that visit. So that is a much better way to evaluate the effectiveness of a visit short of a conversion, right? Google gave in to people and said, okay, fine, we'll let you look at bounce rate, which is basically the opposite calculation. 100% minus whatever your engagement rate is a bounce. And so now with J4, the bounce rate number is actually more accurate because it excludes but it still is not a great way to measure the effectiveness of a site for Google to evaluate for search engine rankings, right? And they've explicitly say they do not measure bounce. You could be Google paranoid and say, well, Google's going to lie to us and they're not going to tell us what the real ranking results are. I think they're being honest in this because of these reasons. Bounce rate would be a really bad way to measure the effectiveness of a visit. So, yeah, I'm clearly not in the bounce rate as a Google ranking factor camp. And I think it would be a really bad idea if it were to be a ranking factor.
Okay. Got it.